there, welcome to Trucking Nomads, and this is Counseling Nomad doing my life as a trucker's wife. And I wanted to I'm going to start basically a series, I guess, on trucking life, I guess. I've kind of been on both sides of the trucker's wife, both at home and on the truck. And I'm a passenger. I live on the truck with my husband. I'm not a driver. I'm a passenger. I'm a rider. So I've also dispatched him, and I've helped him out with setting up loads and that kind of stuff, and that's what I'm going to be doing again. But I wanted to kind of talk about I wanted to approach it with some of the issues that come up in trucking life, and particularly over the road or regional truckers. There's a difference between what happens for over the road truckers than say like UPS drivers or local drivers or that kind of thing. So, or delivery drivers. It's a different lifestyle because they're home every night versus somebody who's not home every night. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is relationships, and so I'm going to approach it with some of the issues that come up, and then I'll do a video that talks about how you might be able to resolve some of the things, or how you might be able to approach resolution on some of the things, because I think actually you might be able to resolve some of the things, some of the issues, multiple issues, at the same time. So that's why I want to do kind of one video on, or a couple of videos on resolutions, and I don't think that I have to do like one video on each issue. So anyway, so in particular I want to talk about relationships with your significant other, your partner, your spouse, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. There's just a lot of female truckers out there, and a lot of female truckers who have significant others. And I'm not excluding anybody in this, because everybody has, there's a large population of GLBT truckers out there as well. So I want to make sure that I'm including that population, because I actually know that there are some, and I've talked extensively with some people who are included in that, who identify in that population. So I want to make sure that you know that I'm including you as well. So one of the things is that if you are not on the truck and you are the significant other of a trucker, you're basically living two different lives. I like to say that I was married but solo. You're basically living two different lives. And I was actually in a group with, it was a Facebook group with wives and girlfriends of truckers, and I heard a lot of these same things. So it's not just me coming up with this. I've heard this a lot. There's, they would talk about how their partner was never home. They rarely saw them, or if they came home, they were home for like a day or two and then they were gone again. So That's definitely something that comes up. And I know that there's been divorces over that relationships ended because people never came home. The driver never came home. Or people fight. Every time they talk to them, they're fighting. Every time they see them, they're fighting. Makes it hard on a relationship if the only time you see them is you're fighting. And that's hard on the trucker as well, as much as the partner. It's definitely difficult for both people. And it kind of makes the trucker not want to go home if the only time that they go home is the only time they go home, they're going to fight. I wouldn't want to go home either, A lot of issues that come up in relationships might be trust issues, and makes it definitely hard on a relationship with an over-the-road trucker if you have issues around trust. And if you struggle with knowing whether or not your partner is going to be cheating on you, that's definitely going to be a hard relationship. If you're not there with them and you're not going to be able to trust them, that's going to be a hard relationship. And same thing if you're at home and your trucker is an over-the-road trucker and you're worried about them, sleeping around, a girl in every port or a guy in every port, whatever. That's definitely going to be hard or with the lot lizards or whatever. It's definitely going to be hard if you have trust issues, because you're always going to be worried that somebody's out there sleeping around on you. So those things come up. One of the things that came up a lot in the group was that they felt like, and this came up for us as well, especially when my husband was first starting out and my mom was sick, is that, I was kind of taking care of everything. And I was working and I was going to school and trying to take care of my mom, and he was driving. And so when he would come home, I was looking for some relief. We didn't have kids or anything, but I was looking for some help and some relief. And he was looking for a break from driving. And so there was a real disconnect in the issue in our lives. And so he would want to go out, and I was just exhausted, and I needed a break and he needed a break, but there was just this real disconnect. And if you have kids, that's even more overwhelming. The significant other is really wanting a break from their life, and the trucker is really wanting a break from their life. And so there's definitely, that's probably a lot of source for fighting, quite honestly. And so there's definitely a lot of opportunity for both people to be overwhelmed and just over it, and money is a source of a lot of issues of frustration and that kind of stuff in relationships. And if there's not enough money to go around, and the trucker isn't home for things like kids major events, or even major events in a relationship. There were a lot of times in the group there was things happening in surgeries happening, or things happening in pregnancies and stuff like that. And partners, bless you, partners weren't being able to get the support of their driver because they were, miles and miles away, and they couldn't get a hold of them, and so that creates a lot of tension, and sometimes the driver wanted to be there and they just couldn't get home, and it just, a trucker's life is really hard in that aspect, and it's sometimes a trucker wants to be home for the events of life. They want to be home for funerals. They want to be home for birthdays. They want to be home for anniversaries. They want to be home for holidays, and they can't. And it creates stress in relationships. It creates gaps in the relationships with their kids, and it's not that, I would say that it's not that different than somebody who's working they're traveling all the time because they're flying out of town all the time because of their job and that kind of stuff. It's not that different because they're gone all the time for their children's events as well, and so there's a gap in the relationship, and creates stress for the kids as well. So so on the truck, it's a little bit different because you're in the same space. And I don't know, it can be kind of hard living on the truck with each other too. You get the benefit of being in the same space, so you get to see each other every day. At the same time, it can be hard as well. You're in an 8x8 box, or sometimes it's a little bit bigger, but you're in this box and you're trying to share space, and the bed, you're in a twin bed, or you have two bunks, so you share a twin bed trying to sleep together on that. And I'm a big girl, so trying to share a twin bed at night sometimes gets a little hard. He's shaking his head, yes. What? He's pointing out a restaurant to me.
The restaurant's called Fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks, okay.
Just a weird name.
Weird name, okay. So we don't always get good sleep because we're in a twin bed, and so sometimes we get on each other's nerves just because of that. And what else? Plus we have our dog with us. So, and there's a lot of drivers that have their pets with them. So, you add that to the mix. And some people have two dogs with them. So you add that, you've got a couple with one or two pets with them, and that adds tension to the mix too. That takes up space. Takes up space in this 8x8 box. And sometimes I remember when we were in a different truck, I would sleep up on the top bunk sometimes, or sometimes he would sleep on the top bunk. And just because of space, and we would get a good night's sleep, but yet we weren't sleeping together, you know? So, if you're in this 8x8 box and you don't learn how to effectively communicate, things blow up really quick. They get out of control and you get fired up really quick. So you have to learn to communicate very fast, or things are going to spiral. And so that's, relationships are hard, and you add ineffective communication to it, and yeah, it gets bad quick. And boredom is real. Let me tell you, on a truck, boredom is real. If you do not know how to entertain yourself, it's real. It's real. I'm just saying it's real. I don't know. Do I need to add anything else?
Whatever you want.
You're a help. Relationships are hard anyway. You add trucking life to it, where you add trucking life to it, and it's kind of like,
You become a mistress.
yeah, you become a mistress because the truck is the primary.
The road is the bride.
The road is the bride.
The wife is the mistress.
The wife is the mistress. Okay. So it's kind of a different beast altogether. So anyway, that's it on issues for relationships, and I'll come back at you with another one. See you on the flip.